This is a summary and all you need to know about nouns in construct form. You should already know nouns in absolute form and how they are translated and how they work. Nouns in absolute can be masculine and feminine, they can be singular and plural. Masculine singular nouns have no ending. Feminine singular nouns ends with either a or t. Remember that these are the two feminine sounds in Hebrew, a or t, and they will show up again with verbs and with pronominal suffixes. Masculine plural ends with im, and feminine plural ends with ot. If you look at the construct, the gray area on the right side, it is the short form of the absolute. So these two are related. Construct is the short form of the absolute. So how do we shorten nothing from masculine singular? Nothing is shortened by nothing, and therefore masculine singular in construct has no change from the masculine singular in absolute. Also look at feminine plural, ot. How do we shorten ot? Ot is already a short sound, t, and therefore there is no change between absolute feminine plural and construct feminine plural. However, if we go to masculine plural and we have im, that is very long. And therefore we shortened it by dropping the mem and we have e or e. Mostly it's e, sometimes it's e. If you look at the feminine, if a noun ends with t, the short, abrupt feminine stop sound, that is already very short, and therefore there is no difference, t and t. However, if a noun in feminine singular ends with a, that's too long, that will change to t. So in feminine construct, all the nouns end with t. In feminine singular absolute, they can end with t or a, but in construct they will always end with t. So if you look at this chart, the construct, it is not that difficult because you already know two of these. You already know masculine singular, you already know feminine plural, and masculine construct plural, the mem drops, and feminine singular is almost identical to absolute, except if it was originally a, it'll change to t. One side note, up above in green, I said that this is a short form and therefore some of the vowels also we shorten if possible. Sometimes the vowels are already short and they cannot shorten, but in certain cases the vowels may shorten. This may sometimes seem confusing, but translating more and more you will see that shortening vowels it happens quite a lot in Hebrew, and here it would be for the reason of creating a shorter form of the absolute. Let's look at some examples. Here is a side-by-side comparison. If we have a noun and it ends with nothing in the noun form over here, if we go to the construct, it will still have nothing. We cannot shorten nothing. The example here that I have is ben, means son, and in construct ben is son. Same thing, ben, ben. Notice that the vowel here changed a little. Here we have a long e, and here we have a short e, so the vowel shortened because we need a shorter form here. However, pronunciation and the way they look and the ending, the form, it's still the same. Son, son of. In construct, you need to add of in English, and I will talk about it later. For right now, we are just looking mainly at the form. If we have a noun and it ends with a, you should already know that this is a feminine ending, and in this case it's feminine absolute. For example, Adama. The a at the end tells you this is feminine singular absolute. The word means ground. In the construct, the a is too long and therefore it changes to t. In this case, Adama changes to Adamat, t, short, so ground off. Again, we had the off, I will talk about it later. Adama, the form a at the end, long, changes to a short form t, adamat. Some of the vowels also changed. If you notice, we had a long a, now we have a sheva. Again, vowels, do not worry about them too much. They will be changing a lot. And the more you translate, the more you read, the more they will make sense how they shortened. Next example. If we have a noun and it ends with t, a short, abrupt sound, you know that this is another of the feminine sounds, the a and t, and therefore this is going to be a feminine singular noun. Here's an example, hatat. This would be a feminine singular absolute, sin. How do we shorten something short? It's still the same. Short cannot be shortened, and therefore hatat is hatat. Hatat, hatat, no change whatsoever. Sin becomes sin off. Again, we add the off. I'll talk about it in a couple more slides here. The vowels changed a little. We had a long a, went to a short a. But again, the vowels, do not try to memorize all of these changes for now. You can do that later, but it will become second nature the more and more we translate. If a noun ends with im, you know that this is masculine plural absolute. Elohim, gods. If this word, by the way, this is a side note, Elohim refers to God of Israel, translated as God with a singular. If it is referring to other gods of other nations, translated with an S at the end, gods. Okay, now this is too long, Elohim, and therefore to shorten it, you drop the mem. Elohim becomes Elohe. So Elohim, gods, becomes Elohe with the mem gone at the end, gods off. Next one. If a noun ends with ot, that's already a short sound at the end, t, that cannot shorten, and therefore it'll remain the same. Ot remains the same and stays as ot in the construct. Artzot, we have ot, lands from Eretz, artzot. This is, by the way, an irregular singular because it ends with tzade, tz, right? It looks masculine, but it's feminine. But it's regular in the plural, artzot, lands. In the construct, artzot, same. See, same ot and ot. Over here we did have a longer vowel. It went all the way to sheva because of the loss of accent. However, the word itself, artzot, artzot, is the same. Lands, lands off. So let's go over some rules and see what are the forms, how to recognize construct, and how to translate the construct. Let's start with the form. Construct is a short form of the absolute. We already seen the chart, we've seen some examples, and besides the form itself, the consonants, you should also know that the vowels may shorten. This may throw you off a little bit at the beginning, but the more you translate, you will see and understand the shortening of the vowels. So this is the form. If we have a nothing, you cannot shorten it anymore in masculine singular, and therefore in construct, it remains the same. Masculine plural. We have im at the end. That's too long, and therefore the mem drops, and we end up with e. In feminine, we have either a or t for feminine singular. T is already short, so it will remain the same. A is too long, and therefore it'll go to t as well. Therefore, feminine singular in construct is always t. Feminine plural, ot. We have a short t stop sound, and therefore there will be no change because you cannot shorten that anymore as from what it is. Rule number 2, translation. When you're translating a construct noun, a noun that is in construct, you need to add word of right after the noun. In other words, what we just seen here, in the absolute sun becomes sun off. In the absolute ground becomes ground off. In the absolute sin becomes sin off. gods in the absolute become gods of. We are always adding the of. Finally, lands in the absolute, they become lands of. Therefore, again, in translation, just add of right after the noun that is in construct. Here is an example. Melech Israel. Melech here is in construct, and therefore we need to say king of Israel. By the way, notice that when I pronounced I pronounced it as a single word. I didn't say Melech Israel. This is Melech Israel. The accent is only at the end, and this is pronounced as a single word. We do the same thing in English. We look below. This is not the king of Israel. This is the king of Israel. And one way to really teach foreigners, and you can tell that I'm a foreigner when I speak English, but one way to really know the difference between foreigners and natives is if they pronounce words together. If you say king of Israel, a lot of native speakers may not understand completely. However, if you say king of Israel, even though some of the words are not pronounced well, by pronouncing it all together, native speakers will understand better. Same in Hebrew. This is not Melech Israel, this is Melech Israel. Accent at the end. We add it off in translation. Rule number 3, context. Every noun that is in construct must be followed by a noun. Now the second noun may be in absolute or construct, but the original noun in construct had to be followed by another noun. We can have such a thing as construct chain, and this is basically a unit between the construct and the following noun. Construct chains can be short, just a noun in construct followed by a noun in absolute, or can be longer, noun in construct followed by another noun in construct, followed by another noun in construct, and finally concluded with a noun in absolute. Therefore, a construct chain that is longer must always end with a noun in absolute. In other words, because we have this rule where noun in construct must be followed by another noun in absolute, in order to end that, we have to have noun in absolute at the end somewhere. And this is a sacred rule. Nouns that are in construct cannot be followed by prepositions, by verbs, by anything else. Therefore, if you're reading a text and you see a noun and the noun is followed by a preposition or a verb or something else, that noun is in absolute and cannot be in construct. The same works in English. We cannot have the mountain of working. We cannot put after of a verb. We have to say mountain of, then we have to have a noun, mountain of God, for example. So here is one example, Bnei bet ha-rechavim. And this is not Bnei bet ha-rechavim, this is Bnei bet ha-rechavim. Only one accent at the end, pronounced as a single unit. Bnei, this is from ben, masculine, right? Masculine noun meaning son. We have which is the construct form for masculine plural. The mem drops in the construct. So it's sons, plural, of, sons of. Bet is a house, and here it's in construct form. This is singular, it's masculine. It does look feminine because of the t, but this is one of the lists of irregular masculine words. So it's house of. Ha-rechavim, ha is the, and rechavim is a proper noun meaning Rechabites. So the sons of the house of Rechabites. We have a construct, absolute. Point number 4, definiteness. Nouns that are in construct form cannot be definite, or in other words, they cannot take definite article. However, in English, we do need to know whether they are definite in nature. So we will not see that by an article, but we still need to know it. How do we know that? Definiteness is determined by the absolute. In other words, if we have a noun in construct, we need to look at the end and find the absolute. If the absolute is indefinite, the construct is also indefinite. If the absolute is definite and has the definite article, then the construct, though it does not have the definite article, is also definite. And a little side note, proper nouns are definite even though they do not have the definite article. Proper nouns meaning names, for example, David. It's not the David, because David, we already know who he is. It's a person, and therefore he is considered, understood to be definite. Here are two examples. Melech Haaretz, again pronounced as a single unit, Melech Haaretz, accent is at the end. We have the definite article. Melech, this is a construct, king of, does not have the definite article. Constructs cannot take a definite article. If you see a noun and it has a definite article, it must be an absolute. Okay, so this one has not, therefore is in construct here. This one has the definite article, therefore this is the absolute. Aretz is land, Eretz, right? The land. In translation, everything that is modifying a definite absolute must be also definite. Therefore, it is not a king, but it is the king of the land. The king of the land. Masculine singular construct, definite article, feminine singular absolute. This one looks masculine, but this is on the list of irregular nouns. Melech Haaretz. This is the same example, except there is no article in front of Eretz, and therefore in translation there is no article in front of the king either. So this is a king of a land. Again, if you put the article there in front of the absolute, though the construct does not have the article, and it can never take the article, in English it needs to be there because it's understood in Hebrew. Moving on to point number 5. We did not cover pronominal suffixes, however, because we are covering construct, I want to put this point in here, and I want you to understand this now, though you do not know the suffixes yet. And here is the rule. If a noun has a pronominal suffix, these will be attached to the noun, they will become part of the unit. That noun must be in construct. In other words, this noun is in construct to the suffix. Absolute is absolute, meaning it is finished. It can never take a suffix. Again, if a noun has a suffix, that noun is by default in a construct form. And here is an example. Bincha. Cha is the suffix. We did not cover the suffixes yet. You don't need to know what this means. I can tell you this means your. However, the word ben we covered. This means son. And here you could think, is this absolute or construct? If it has a suffix, you don't even have to think. It's 100% construct because it is in construct to the suffix. In other words, this is son of yours, your son. So in English we can say your son. However, understood is construct, son of, whose son? Son of yours, your son. Next rule. Point number 6, makef. If you see two nouns and they are joined by a makef, and a reminder, makef is this short line up high on the top of between two words, which functions exactly the same as hyphen in English. In other words, it joins, it tells you that two words go together. It's not used only with nouns, it can be used with verbs, with prepositions, with other things. We've seen it with direct object marker. But in this case, I'm specifically referring to nouns and they're both joined by a makef. They are most likely in construct relationship. I'm saying most likely because there are rare examples where it is not the case. However, if you see two nouns and they are joined by a makef, you can pretty much be sure that they are in construct. The first will obviously be in construct, and the second could be in construct as well. However, most of the time, the makef will be used between construct and an absolute. So here is a quick summary of the rules. First of all, form. You need to know the forms. It is the short form of the absolute, and the vowels may and will shorten if possible. Number 2, translation. When you're translating a construct, you need to add word of right after the noun that is in construct. Number 3, context. Every noun that is in construct must be followed by a noun. That noun can be an absolute or construct. However, that original construct must be followed by a noun. This is sacred. It cannot be interrupted by prepositions, by adjectives, by verbs, by nothing else. And this construct chain, this unit of construct and another noun, must eventually end with an absolute. So you cannot have construct followed by another noun in construct and then suddenly have a verb. You will have to have a noun in construct, and at the end there will somewhere have to be noun that is in absolute before you can have anything else than a noun. Number 3, definiteness. Nouns in construct cannot take the definite article. In other words, if you see a noun with a definite article, that noun is in absolute. It is not construct. How do we make constructs definite? Because in English we do understand them definite and we do need the definite article. It will not be there in Hebrew, it will be understood. The definiteness will be determined by the absolute. In other words, if you have a noun in construct and it is followed by a noun in absolute and that noun is definite with the definite article, everything before that, all the constructs, will be also understood to be definite. Side note, proper nouns are definite by nature. They are understood to be definite even though they do not take the definite article. Pronominal suffixes. If a noun has a pronominal suffix, it is in construct. You don't have to question it, you don't have to look at the form. You know that if you see a noun with a suffix, it is 100% in construct. Absolute is an absolute, therefore it is finished, therefore it cannot take any construct and any suffixes. And finally, makef, this short line between two words that functions like a hyphen. It tells you that two words go together. If you see it between two nouns, you can see it between verbs and between other parts of the sentence, but specifically if you see makef between two nouns, most likely those nouns are in construct. The first one will be in construct, the second one will be in absolute. So let's conclude with 4 examples. B'Shem Adonai. Again, pronunciation, it's a unit, B'Shem Adonai. Accent only at the very end. We have a B, which is a preposition in or by or with. Shem is a name in construct. Ma, that doesn't fit the 3 options and therefore it is masculine singular. Masculine singular construct, and Adonai is a proper name. Proper names are already understood to be definite, and therefore we need to put the definite article in front of the construct as well. In the name of the Lord. Next example. Nashe ben Yaakov. Pronunciation, again, it's a unit, Nashe ben Yaakov. Accent only at the end. From the beginning. Nashe, this looks masculine, but this is actually a feminine word. This means woman, and it's in plural, so it's women, and it is in construct. The mem drops. So it's a women of. Construct, remember in translation we need the of. Women of. Bane, this is from ben, and we have the plural, masculine plural form. So this is parsing masculine plural construct. Sons, plural, sons of. So women of, sons of. And then we have Yaakov, which is a proper noun. in other words, a name that is understood to be definite, and therefore we need to put in English the definite articles in front of these two as well. The wives of the sons of Jacob. Everything in before that is modifying the noun, so all the constructs before must be definite if the noun is definite. And this noun, Jacob, is definite. Again, though we do not see the definite article, it's understood because this is a name. HaKohen lifnei Adonai. If you look at this phrase, I highlighted a couple things here. We have Kohen, that's a priest, and we have Adonai, that's Lord. Lifnei means before, and we have the definite article. Kohen, we know that this is a masculine because of the na, and then we could say it's also singular because of the na. However, we also know that absolute and construct in masculine and singular look identical. So is this masculine and singular absolute, or is this masculine and singular construct? You can look at this text and think a reason or two reasons why it is one or the other. First, look at the definite article. One of the rules says construct cannot take definite articles, therefore you know this is an absolute. Second, lifnei. This is a preposition which means before, and therefore you also know one of the rules said every construct must be followed by a noun. This is not a noun, therefore you also know this is an absolute. So these are two reasons why you know this is an absolute, even though it will look identical in the construct form. So the translation is the priest before the Lord. Final example, Shem Eshet Avram. Shem is a name. Eshet, this is from Isha, and the A changed to T. So we had Isha, and now it's Eshet, T. Avram is Abraham. This is a name, proper noun, therefore this is understood to be definite. We have a makef, so we know these two go together, therefore this is going to be construct absolute. We also see this is a construct because of the form, and from the context we know also Shem is going to be a construct, so this is masculine because of the masculine singular construct, feminine singular construct, and finally proper noun. Translation, name of, we need the of, a woman of Abram. So name of a woman of Abram, we need the articles because Abram is understood to be definite. The name of the woman or the wife, the name of the woman of Abram. And that is a summary of the nouns in construct form.